You could feel the anger tonight at a Board of Trustees meeting in Thornton Township. The board and citizens looking for accountability to their finances, while the township supervisor.
I am about to address some things as the supervisor. There will be no comments, there will be anything. It'll just be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on in Thornton Township.
Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed supermayor of Dolton and Thornton Township, has found herself entangled in one of the messiest scandals we've seen in a long time. But let's be honest, could anyone expect things to stay quiet with all the drama she's been involved in lately? And just when we thought things couldn't get worse for her, now there's a new twist that has people talking. Rumor has it that her former assistant, Carmen Carlisle, is blackmailing her, and folks, this one's wild.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
So, what's the story? According to whispers in the political scene, Carmen Carlisle, who used to be one of Henyard's closest allies, is now holding some explosive information over the mayor's head. Apparently, she's got receipts, literally. We're talking about documents and records that Henyard allegedly asked her to destroy, but didn't. What's in these documents? Nobody knows for sure, but rumor has it they contain some very incriminating details that could expose even more corruption than what's already out there. And now, Carlisle is demanding a hefty payout, or she'll be handing those documents straight to the FBI.
One way that the government always does it is to go and investigate people around her, and that's what they're doing here.
The backstory here is important. Let's not forget that Carmen wasn't just some low-level assistant. She was right there in the thick of it, part of the inner circle, knowing all the dirt. This woman has been close enough to Henyard to see it all. That's exactly why this rumor is hitting so hard. If anyone would have the goods on Henyard, it's her.
It's in deep debt, and that is the finding of an investigation of village finances and the spending habits of beleaguered Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Now, sources are saying that Carmen's alleged blackmail isn't just about the money. It's also personal. Think about it. She trusted Henyard, worked with her, helped her rise to power. And what did she get in return? Allegedly, Henyard turned her back on Carmen the minute she started asking questions about the mayor's extravagant spending and dubious financial decisions. Maybe this whole blackmail thing is Carmen's way of getting back at Henyard for the betrayal, or maybe she's just looking to make a clean break. Who knows? But one thing is clear, this power struggle is playing out in public, and it's juicy.
Hey guys, this is Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the People's Mayor and People's Supervisor.
People in Dolton and Thornton Township have noticed Henyard acting strange lately, almost paranoid. She's been on edge, snapping at colleagues, making impulsive decisions, and putting up a front as if she's in total control. But let's be real, it's obvious something's bothering her, and if this blackmail story is even partially true, it makes perfect sense why she'd be so tense. A few weeks ago, at a heated township meeting, Henyard went off on her colleagues, accusing them of not doing their jobs and standing in the way of progress. She even called them out publicly for blocking her proposed events and initiatives, saying things like, "You guys want to just halt things here at Thornton Township because I don't see y'all doing nothing."
They've stayed at luxury hotels, including the Four Seasons, and dine at steakhouses.
Oh my God, when you just see these things.
There was so much pent-up frustration in her voice, but what really caught everyone's attention wasn't what she said, it was how she said it. There was this undercurrent of desperation, like someone who's running out of time or who feels the walls closing in. And if we look at what's going on behind the scenes, that's probably not too far from the truth. To add fuel to the fire, even her most loyal allies are starting to distance themselves from her. Henyard's former assistant turned township trustee, Carmen Carlisle, once part of Henyard's inner circle, has since broken ties with her, saying she can no longer stay silent about what's been going on.
Good evening. An illegal appointment. That's what the trustees I talked to are calling this. They say the news took them by surprise, and now they're talking to legal counsel to figure out their next steps.
And this isn't just idle talk. During a township meeting not too long ago, Carlisle had a moment that shook the room. She straight up said, "I trusted this administration. The moment I didn't trust the process, I started asking questions." And just like that, you could hear the metaphorical mic drop.
One of the ordinances proposed at the special meeting would have put a cap on credit card spending with purchases approved by the finance director, but that ordinance did not pass.
Coming in, unfortunately, we knew it was going to be a little messy, but it's just something we felt important that had to be done, that should be done. So, but like I said,
But it didn't stop there. After Carlisle's explosive comments, more people from Henyard's past started stepping forward. Former trustee Valeria Stubbs, who attended Henyard's extravagant and sparsely attended $85,000 Taste of Thornton Township event, didn't hold back, calling it a flop, and questioning the outrageous expenses. This is the same event where taxpayers shelled out tens of thousands for R&B singer Cake Wyatt and rapper Jay Holiday. And if that wasn't enough, there were even bounce houses costing over $6,000. Seriously, who's approving this spending?
There's no reason for anyone from a township to go to a mayor's conference. A mayor's conference is a mayor's conference for mayors.
Henyard has defended her actions, of course, saying things like, "This is all for the babies," and trying to convince the public that these events are about community engagement and bringing people together. But honestly, when you've got people like Stubbs openly criticizing the event and residents saying they're pissed off about their tax dollars going to waste, it doesn't seem like the public is buying it. In fact, it seems like they're fed up. But back to Carmen Carlisle, because she's the one really driving this drama right now. If the rumors are true that she's sitting on a goldmine of information, it's only a matter of time before this blows up even more. Insiders say Carmen's ready to spill everything unless Henyard gives in to her demands. And here's where it gets really interesting. Apparently, Carmen has some documents that Henyard once begged her to get rid of. We don't know exactly what's in them, but let's just say if they're as damaging as people are speculating, it could be game over for Henyard.
Keith Freeman sent out the email saying, no, he's not employed by us. So you have got just this gyration.
Of course, Henyard's team has been trying to downplay everything, insisting that these are just baseless rumors meant to tarnish her reputation. But isn't that what they always say when things start falling apart? It's kind of hard to ignore when your former right-hand person is turning against you and making these kinds of claims. Plus, there's been so much tension at these township meetings lately. Residents are showing up in droves, demanding answers and transparency. One resident, Jeffer Roberts, even said she was flabbergasted and pissed off when she found out how much Henyard had spent on the township event. That's the kind of anger you can't ignore, and it's starting to build. And Henyard knows it. You can tell by the way she's been acting lately, lashing out at anyone who questions her and doubling down on her supermayor persona as if that's going to protect her from what's coming. But let's be honest, it feels like she's running out of options.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
Just look at what's been happening over the past few months. Her lavish spending habits have come under scrutiny, not just at the township level, but on a much bigger scale. We're talking about federal investigations, folks. There are reports that the FBI is digging into her financial dealings, which isn't surprising considering some of the questionable decisions that have been made. And now, with her former assistant potentially holding incriminating documents over her head, the stakes couldn't be higher. The timing of all this is especially suspicious, too. Henyard's been fighting off allegations left and right, from misusing taxpayer money to first-class travel and high-end dining on the public's dime. There was even the eyebrow-raising $43,000 Amazon shopping spree that's now part of an ongoing investigation. And what's worse is that all of this is happening while the town she's supposed to be leading is sinking deeper into debt. Dolton is reportedly millions in the red, and yet Henyard's still spending like there's no tomorrow. People are starting to wonder if this is all connected. Could it be that Carmen Carlisle has proof of even more shady dealings? Could those documents hold the key to unlocking the full extent of Henyard's mismanagement? It certainly seems like something big is about to happen, and if Carmen follows through with her threats, Henyard might not have much time to prepare.
Very appreciative to receive the information today. We have the best mayor ever. I've been here since 1993. And she's the best we ever had.
You know, you're doing a lot of programs, good programs for the, the senior citizens, and you're doing a lot of programs for, people who are on a fixed budget. But what about the people, the blue-collar people who are still carrying this,
What's clear is that Henyard's position is getting shakier by the day. She's been trying to play it cool, making public appearances and keeping up with her usual bravado. But you can see the cracks starting to form. Even at her recent public appearances, she seemed a bit more agitated, a bit more on edge. It's like she knows something's coming, but isn't sure how to stop it. And this isn't just affecting Henyard's political career, it's affecting her personally, too. Her relationships with people she once trusted are falling apart. Her former allies are turning on her one by one, and it's becoming harder for her to find support. Even at those township meetings where she's supposed to be the one in charge, you can sense the tension in the air.
Y'all thought that I was young, dumb, didn't know nothing, was gonna let y'all come and manipulate me. I didn't do any of that. So because I didn't do any of that, you guys started this whole smear campaign.
She's no longer in control of the narrative, and that's dangerous for someone who's built her entire image on being a strong, untouchable leader. But let's be real. How long can she keep up this act? How long before the pressure becomes too much and she either steps down or is forced out? Because if Carmen Carlisle has her way, this whole thing could blow wide open any day now. And when it does, it's going to be one of the biggest political scandals we've seen in a long time.
They'll turn up more and more information. They'll turn up more leads. They may turn up more witnesses. They may find a cooperator. They may find an informant, all which will benefit the investigation tremendously.
But based on what we know now, if you're Tiffany Henyard, how are you feeling?
I would be nervous.
As for what happens next, we'll just have to wait and see. One thing's for sure, though, Henyard's not going down without a fight, but whether she can win that fight remains to be seen. And with the weight of a federal investigation looming, plus the possibility of her former assistant leaking explosive documents, it feels like the clock is ticking.
Of the supervisor, Tiffany Henyard.
Were there any questions that you have at all?
No, right now I'm going to give her a chance.
And this meeting comes one day after Fox 32's Dane Placco exposed what some are calling misappropriation of funds after traveling to Washington, D.C. in January for a U.S. conference of mayors, according to credit card records obtained.
So the real question is, how much longer can Tiffany Henyard hold on before it all comes crashing down? And if Carmen does release those documents, will it finally be the end for the self-proclaimed supermayor? Time will tell, but for now, all eyes are on Dolton, waiting for the next bombshell to drop. As things heat up in Dolton, we've already covered the shocking rumors about Tiffany Henyard's former assistant, Carmen Carlisle, potentially blackmailing the mayor. But this scandal doesn't stop there. The real intrigue starts when we dive into the bigger picture, the corruption accusations that have been circling Henyard for months now, and how the FBI might be preparing to make a move.
This administration is shameful. Y'all are a disgrace.
We're watching the fall of this administration.
So, how did it all begin? Well, Tiffany Henyard's time in the spotlight hasn't exactly been smooth sailing. She's been a controversial figure from the moment she took office, and that's putting it mildly. When she was elected as both mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thornton Township, she proudly declared herself the supermayor, ready to take on the world. But it didn't take long for people to start questioning her leadership, and more importantly, her spending habits.
Yeah, we've been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dolton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges.
One of the earliest red flags, Henyard's lavish lifestyle. Reports have surfaced that Henyard and her team have racked up an eye-popping amount of expenses, all on the taxpayer's dime. We're talking first-class flights, 5-star hotels, fancy dinners, the kind of spending spree that would make anyone's head spin. There was even a report of her charging over $43,000 to Amazon in just one day. Let that sink in. $43,000 in one day. And when you look at a town like Dolton, which is struggling with a multi-million-dollar deficit, you've got to wonder, where's all this money coming from? Henyard has been trying to justify her spending, claiming it's all part of her efforts to represent Dolton on a national level and attract investment. But let's be real, it's hard to swallow when residents are seeing their town spiral into debt while their mayor is jet-setting across the country. Even her former allies started questioning these extravagant expenses, with some of them stepping forward to criticize her unchecked spending. Then came the bombshell. Federal investigators were taking notice. It's one thing for local residents and media to raise eyebrows, but when the FBI gets involved, that's a whole different level of scrutiny. And it's not just one or two small inquiries. Subpoenas were served to Dolton and Thornton Township, with the FBI requesting all kinds of documents, from financial reports to credit card statements.
Yep, Ray and Mike, Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wanted the Board of Trustees to approve some events that she wants the township to pay for, but none of the trustees showed up for this special meeting tonight. That left the meeting canceled and Henyard with the floor.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, and the deeper they go, the more questionable things they seem to find. One of the most suspicious things, Henyard's use of the village credit card for personal purchases. We're talking trips to big retailers, fancy restaurants, and even her own charity foundation, Tiffany Henyard Cares. This foundation claims to support people battling serious illnesses, but there's been very little transparency about where the donations are going and how the money is being spent.
All I can tell you is that I'm not the one on anything. That's the only thing I can tell you right now. So I'm just trying to answer.
In fact, the Illinois Attorney General has stepped in demanding answers about why Henyard's charity hasn't filed the necessary paperwork or provided financial disclosures. And that's not all. Records show that taxpayer money was used to fund trips associated with the foundation. You've got to ask yourself, is this really charity work, or is it just another way for Henyard to line her pockets? What's even more wild is how Henyard's been handling the fallout. Instead of cooperating with the investigations and coming clean, she's been doubling down, blocking efforts to look into her finances even further.
More, Nate.
That's right, Dawn and Terrence. Tonight's meeting had a much different tone than what we've experienced previously at Dolton City Council meetings. Now, the room was full of Henyard supporters, and they wanted me to be sure to tell you that they applauded for her several times as she talked about the township being in a great place financially. Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
At one point, the Dolton trustees voted to bring in none other than former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to lead a special investigation into Henyard's spending. Lightfoot, who knows a thing or two about tough political situations, was hired at $400 per hour to dig into the village's finances and get to the bottom of the mess. But here's the kicker. Henyard vetoed the decision. That's right, she blocked the investigation into herself. If that doesn't raise alarm bells, what will? Henyard's attempts to stop Lightfoot from investigating only added fuel to the fire. Why would someone block an investigation if they had nothing to hide? It's not a good look, especially when you're already facing accusations of financial misconduct. Residents and trustees alike have been outraged, and rightfully so. One trustee, Jason House, said it best when he stated that Henyard's refusal to cooperate and her attempt to halt investigations are a direct assault on transparency.
We reached out to the FBI, which said it is policy for the agency not to comment on the nature, existence, or non-existence of any investigation that may be occurring. A public relations firm responded on behalf of the mayor, saying neither Henyard or the village of Dolton have received any subpoenas or been contacted by the FBI or any other law enforcement agency.
But here's where things get even more interesting. With federal subpoenas piling up and an FBI investigation looming, rumors are flying that Henyard's arrest is only a matter of time. People are speculating that it's not a question of if but when the feds will swoop in and finally hold her accountable for what looks like a mountain of corruption. And let's not forget, it's not just her spending that's under scrutiny. The FBI is reportedly looking into the police department as well, particularly Henyard's use of a personal security detail. Some have accused her of using the police as her own private army, even pulling officers off the streets to escort her to events and trips. Again, all at the taxpayers' expense.
Gardner says he's been harassed and his business raided and shut down by Dolton police. He believes because he refused to make a donation to a civic event sponsored by Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
And I talked to a couple of agents and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork.
Speaking of the police, one of Henyard's closest allies in the department, Deputy Chief Louis Lacey, has found himself in hot water too. He's been indicted on multiple counts of fraud, including hiding assets during a bankruptcy case. This is the same guy who's been seen protecting Henyard at events and who raked in over $200,000 in overtime pay. You have to wonder, how deep does this rabbit hole go? And with Lacey facing serious charges, the question on everyone's mind is, will he turn on Henyard to save himself? With so much going on, it's hard to keep up with all the drama. But one thing is for sure, Henyard's empire is crumbling, and fast. Her refusal to cooperate with investigations, her lavish spending, her questionable relationships with key figures in the police department, and now the rumors that her own former assistant is holding damaging evidence against her. It's a perfect storm. And let's not forget the financial state of Dolton itself. A town that was once in the black now finds itself in a deficit of millions, with residents demanding answers and growing more frustrated by the day. Henyard's critics are becoming more vocal. One of the most outspoken is former trustee Valeria Stubbs, who hasn't been shy about calling Henyard's spending habits reckless and her leadership dictatorial. She's even gone as far as to say, Tiffany is a narcissist. She's going to do whatever she wants to do. I feel like she knows this is over, but she's going to go down kicking and screaming like an MMA fighter. Those are some strong words, but they reflect the growing sentiment in Dolton. People are tired of the mismanagement and the arrogance.
And we've learned the FBI has been using electronic surveillance as part of its investigation. Agents are asking questions about Henyard's alleged use of taxpayer dollars and resources, including massive spending on out-of-town trips.
The pressure isn't just coming from her critics, though. Even Henyard's former allies are starting to distance themselves from her. We already mentioned Carmen Carlisle's split, but there's also been a noticeable shift in how others around her are behaving. Some township trustees who once stood by her side are now supporting efforts to limit her spending and bring in outside help to sort through the financial mess. And these aren't just political enemies looking for a quick win. These are people who used to be in her corner, who have seen firsthand what's been going on behind closed doors. For now, all eyes are on Tiffany Henyard. Will she step down before the pressure gets too intense? Or will she continue to fight, hoping against all odds that she can somehow escape the consequences of her actions? Either way, one thing's for sure. The next few months are going to be a wild ride, and we'll be here to watch it all play out. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over.